drives the ball in the air and a brilliant catch.
Keep up with all the cricket action with the Test Match Special podcast.
And he's hit it clean as a whistle back over the long leg boundary.
Exclusive interviews and in-depth analysis on every series.
That batting lineup can stand up with the best in the world of any country.
And he goes and bowls to Butler. That must have gone, surely.
The Test Match Special podcast. Listen on BBC Sounds.
BBC Sounds. Music, radio, podcasts.
Hello and welcome to the Scottish Football Podcast. I'm Ray Bradshaw, and as we look ahead to the new season, this is the latest in our series of Scottish Premiership preview episodes. We've got one for each top flight team, and for this one, our destination is Dingwall, because we're going to be focusing on the team who finished 11th last season, Ross County.
Money, another good save, but it's going to the rebound! Ross County in front! And it's George Harman this time! Just incredible in Dingwall. Reed into the middle of the box. Oh, Murray's there. He's done it again. What a finish that is from Simon Murray. Full of confidence. Stand up with the corner from the right-hand side, and it comes the header in. A second goal for County, and Jordan White gets it. And that may now be the goal that preserves Ross County's top-flight status.
The Scottish Football Podcast from BBC Sports Scotland.
Yes, the BBC do have a sense of humour because they have a Partick Thistle fan doing a Ross County podcast 18 months after Dingwall. On today's episode, we're going to be joined by Callum Morris, the former Ross County defender, and Ramsay Banks, co-host of the Staggy's View podcast. Callum, how are we?
Very good, thanks. Yeah, thanks for having me.
Whereabouts are you in the world just now?
I am Dundee, so I'm a little bit further south than Ramsay is, but still in Scotland at the minute.
Nice. Ramsay, Ross County fan, Staggy's View podcast. What's it like talking about your team all the time? Because it can't have been that fun over the last couple of years, can it?
I was just saying, like, mid-season when all that was happening last year, I was probably too angry to look at it, from the outside with an objective eye. End of the season, you look back at some of the stuff that was going on, it actually is quite funny. But at the time it wasn't. Yeah, talking about them every week last season definitely got a bit grating.
Yeah, I can imagine. And also, but that Derek Adams bit must have been fun. Let's talk about it. So what I'm going to do is, before we start, I can see Callum already regretting doing this. Before we start, let's quickly try and summarise the last campaign for the Staggies. Now, usually, I'm going to be honest with you guys, there's maybe one or two sentences. This one is 5 paragraphs. So last season for Ross County, they topped their League Cup group before eventually losing to Aberdeen 2-1 in the quarterfinals. The league campaign started with a 4-2 defeat away to Celtic that was followed by a 2-0 win over St Johnstone. After that, though, a run of 9 games without a win saw Malky Mackay sacked as manager. Derek Adams came back in for his third spell in the Dingwall dugout, but would quickly leave after a turbulent 12 games in charge that saw him win 2 and lose 7. His 79-day reign will perhaps be best remembered for an extraordinary post-match interview following defeat to Dundee, in which he slammed the standard of Scotland's top flight. Don Cowie took over on an interim basis and, after finishing in 11th place, managed to comfortably overcome Raith Rovers 6-1 on aggregate in the playoff to secure their Premiership safety. Cowie was rewarded by being appointed on a permanent basis. They were knocked out the Scottish Cup in the third round, losing 3-0 at home to Partick Thistle, and Simon Murray, by quite a clear distance, was top scorer and Player of the Year. Now, Ramsay, I really enjoyed reading that. Not because you don't want to take pity on other teams when they're having a bad season, but at 2 different points here, you put your head in your hands when I was reading that out, which you don't really get that much. Looking back on it, did you forget about some of that?
Genuinely, yeah. I mean, I think I've got egg on my face here, right? Because, opening day 4-2 to Celtic, you don't expect to win at Celtic Park. It might as well make it exciting. Then, you win 2-0 against St Johnstone. You're like, you know what? We got something here. And then, what was it? 9 games without win, and then just like half a season of drops. And then, Dunn comes in and gives us a good ending. So there is a lot there. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, and Callum, as a former professional who played for numerous different clubs in Scotland, obviously at County for 3 years, can you remind us at the time when you saw the Derek Adams interview? And you can talk, there was a couple. I remember, I'm a Thistle fan, after he did against us in the Cup, it was quite explosive live on air, and obviously the one about the standard of football.
But that takes nothing away from the fact that the game was really poor. The standard is shocking, really. It's one of the worst games I've ever seen. it's just, I've been back here and I see the standard and I think, wow, any chance? If I'm a spectator and watching that today, I'm thinking, is this what Scottish football's about? The standard's rubbish. And it really is. The quality for a supporter to go and watch the games, to see passing movements, to see chances created, the amount of times the ball's given away, the amount of times that nobody's under pressure, that both teams, any team that I've seen, it's got to be a lot better. If this is the best product in this division, it has to be 100 times better than it is. And if I'm a paying customer at this moment in time, I'm not coming back to watch that, I tell you that. And, I've left a team down in League 2 that's miles better than this team. Miles. And that's saying something. We had the bottom budget in League 2 and we're 100 times better than this. 100 times.
As a player, what are you thinking at that?
I wasn't sure what was going on. My phone blew up with different group chats, different players from all over the place. Like, what's this guy up to? Because I'm all for in the change room. People sometimes need, a rocket, need to be told what's what. But to do it in the press and do it publicly, and especially after just coming through the door, like, you haven't been there twice before, surely you do a bit of due diligence, and then to see the players aren't good enough, this, that, and the other, maybe it's a job that's too big and whatever else he said. I was like, what are you doing? It's like you're trying to get yourself the boot.
Yeah, let's not dwell on the negatives, because obviously it is a good laugh though. But the 6-1, let's be honest, it's what we all want. But the 6-1 victory, yeah, the 6-1 victory over Wraith Rovers was very comfortable in the end. Ramsay, were you at both games?
I was at the away leg. First of all, that away stand, I can't remember what it's called, the one that looks kind of like a shed. Probably one of the best away stands I've been a part of. So much fun. But yeah, the home leg, I went in there nervous. Oh my God, I was shaking in the morning, couldn't sleep the night before. And it was like one of the most comfortable games I've ever been to as a county fan.
Back post header from Nightingale is blocked here. Fourth goal! Fabulous strike again from the edge of the penalty area. And Brandon Kayla rubber stamps County's place in next season's top flight. Another wonderful goal.
Yeah, a bit of whiplash compared to the rest of the season in that tie.
Yeah, and also you're experts at the playoffs, having done it 2 years in a row. If we're going to talk about Ross County last season, there's one player that comes to mind. Obviously, we'll talk about how big a loss he's going to be in a second, but Simon Murray, it got to the point where I was on radio, doing Radio Scotland. I can't remember what show it was, but it was when Lyndon Dykes got injured. Numerous pundits were linking Simon Murray with getting called up to the Scotland squad. Such was the good season he had.
Simon Murray picks up the scraps. In fact, Simon Murray lashes the ball towards goal, and Ross County have the dream start in Dingwall. Simon Murray, so often the goal hero this season.
Callum, when you have a striker like that in your team, it does help so much, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. I was at Dundee United when they signed him from Arbroath, when he first came like full time.
He's just a young, scrawny ginger kid.
He was just raw, like endeavour in bucket loads. You know what I mean? Which you can see, and that's never changed. The enthusiasm shines through. But yeah, he's had good seasons in the past, but I think he probably found a home last season at County, and everything was coming off, and the fans took to him, and he took to the fans. And obviously he's going to be a massive miss, but family does come first. And I know the situation size in the best thing for him was to move closer to home. But yeah, he's a pain to play against because he does not stop at all for 90 minutes or whatever else it is. So I can totally understand why he's had such a good season, because he gives it everything.
Yeah, he just runs. Like any game I've seen him at, he's just, whether it's been when he was at Queen's Park or whatever, just an excellent striker. This might be a hard question for you, Ramsay. Let's take out the playoff, because I think that's an obvious one. What was the other highlight of the season for you?
Beating Rangers for the first time ever.
It's King into the penalty, touches it back. Sims, goal! Ross County are in absolute dreamland here as Josh Sims has opened up a 2-goal advantage against the title pretenders Rangers. But
mate, my voice was gone by the end of the day. I'm lucky enough to sometimes be in the press box at County doing the post-match pressers, etc. Me and my co-host Pete, who does it as well, the podcast, was next to me, and we usually try and say all professional, like don't celebrate too much. Mate, by the end of that game, we were screaming, and I do look back and cringe a little bit, but that day was, oh my God, one of the best of my life. Such a highlight.
I remember watching that game, and it was 3-2, but it was a comfortable 3-2 as well. And it looked like County were going to step on. And then, did you not lose your next game? Is that not what happened?
So we had the international break, and then we went down to Livingston and lost 2-0.
Very Ross County last season, isn't it? Definitely.
Yeah.
And Callum, if you have to, let's grade. We've done this with every other team. If you had to grade out of 10, 10 being the best, 0 being the worst, what would you score Ross County's season last year between 0 and 10?
I think for drama, it's probably a 10, isn't it? There was everything last season.
Yeah.
If you're neutral, that was unbelievable. I think football wise, when they played well, they played really well. The inconsistencies let them down, and obviously there was only Livingston and Dundee, I think, who conceded more goals last year. So that's something that has to change. But staying in the league is what they want to do. They need to be in a top flight, and that's the way Roy's built the club. So I think I would still give it like a 7 because the job done, stayed in the league.
That's interesting. I was not expecting that. I think when we had St Johnstone fans on and former players, I think they rated it 2 and 3 for their season. So 7. Yeah, Ramsay, what are you saying?
I think, first of all, Callum's right. The goal is to stay in the league. I think if we're saying like just like objective achieved is probably like, just middle, like 5. Just the fact that it's the playoff, I'd probably take and put 4. But I obviously over the moon to still be in the league. So if like base level, like just objective achieved is like a 5, I'll probably give it a 4 just because we needed the playoffs to do.
What I would say is though, if you're one of these teams that finishes mid-table and does nothing, right, as a fan, but like a county, you beat Rangers, massive, unbelievable. And although the playoffs are negative going into them, it's like winning a cup final when you win it. You know what I mean? So some of these teams have just bounced along all season and been like, oh, up and down, finished 8th, got nowhere near a cup, nothing, no big days to cheer about. County have had a few and stayed in the league. You know what I mean? Lined the pockets a bit. Been able to recruit again this summer because they've stayed in the league they are in. I think there's a lot to be said for last season.
Yeah, you can also book Callum Morris as a motivational speaker, so that was good.
I'm in.
Let's look ahead for the upcoming campaign. It's going to be an interesting one. County are one of those teams who people are a bit unsure of. So I think let's get over the exits first, because we mentioned Simon Murray, but Jan Danda has also gone in amongst a few other players. Ramsay, how big losses are those two players in particular?
So first of all, with Jan, I've made this prediction on 2 other podcasts now. I'm just gonna, this isn't even a video podcast. I'm looking into the camera as I do it. Jan Danda is gonna go to Hearts and be their best player, and that includes Lawrence Shankland. That guy is magic.
Danda's gonna strike this one. Oh my words! Take a bow, Jan Danda. That is absolutely stunning.
He is unbelievable. He is going to be the best player.
What do you think is going to make him step on so much at Hearts?
I just think, so you think about Ross County, and obviously Don's done a great job with the way we've been playing. He's made our play style a little bit easier on the eye, but a lot of our play was sitting back and waiting for things to happen. And Jan Danda still blew out the magic that he did. If you look at Hearts, against 9 of those other teams, they're going to have more of the ball. Think about what he's going to pull out then.
That's nice. I like that prediction. I like that kind of boldness. Callum, you've played in teams where you have an exciting playmaker and you've got a goal scorer who'll get you, 25 goals or something like that. Yeah. When you lose both of them, how do you recover from that?
It's tough, isn't it? But I suppose that's what they probably sold him when he went to County. He has a platform. Go and produce. So if you do what we know you can do, you won't be here long. And as much as you want to keep him at the club, and I know that Roy and everything, they would have done everything to try and keep him at the club. To go down the road and play European football in front of 18,000, whatever it is, every week is hard to turn down. But I think they will have a plan. There must have been some succession planning going on. As soon as Don got the job, he would have been looking at people that could maybe breach the gap. So I mean, it's going to be hard, isn't it? Because like Ramsay said, I don't know how you can replace the pair of them, especially had the seasons they had, considering they finished 11th and how well they played. But I'm sure there'll be another rough diamond that they'll pluck from somewhere who will produce a great season. I'm
quite intrigued by County signings. I think they've signed excitingly in some aspects and a little bit outside the box. So what I wanted to ask you, Callum, was they've brought Ronan Hale over from Cliftonville on the same day Simon Murray left. So it was obviously in the works, a kind of a replacement. They won't call him a replacement, but that's the kind of thing. How easy is it to adapt to moving up to Highland and Scottish football from you coming down from England? I know you went around the Central Belt a little bit first, but is it easy to settle in?
I think it is. It depends what kind of person you are. Like for me, it was a brilliant place to be because it's like not just a team, it's a family. Everyone's wives, children get on together, spend a lot of time together because you're kind of up there siloed in the Highlands, and there's no other worries. I think that's why some players, if you come in and embrace it, and there's no distractions, you can probably play some really good football because you've got the facilities are top notch. You know, if the fans are there, the stadium's there, like you get looked after travel wise and everything. So it's literally just go up there and enjoy it. And I think a lot of people do. I know obviously Liam Boyce came over and did the same. And I think why can't he come and replicate that? Why can't he come and score a lot of goals and get himself a move or stay at county for the foreseeable?
Yeah, he's got a great goal record over at Cliftonville. I know Don Cowie has targeted a cup run, saying it's something that Ross County have not done enough in recent years. That's obviously very important to the club and the fans financially and that kind of success. So far, at the start of the season, a 3-1 win at Stranraer and a 2-1 win over Wraith Rovers at the weekend. Callum, decent enough start so far?
I think so. I think all you can do is beat the teams who are in front of you. And I think, although like maybe it doesn't show in the league, because there's some teams who lose over every game in this kind of strange pre-season League Cup, whatever to put together, and go on and have a really good season. But I think for Jordan White to get 3 goals is big. I think the wing backs have produced, I think it's 3 assists and a goal between them in the 2 games. So whatever they've been working on in training seems to be come to fruition in games. So that's always a good sign going forward. But yeah, I think if you can keep everyone fit, no injuries coming through the group stage, and you can get minutes into people's legs, ramping up to the Motherwell game, up to now, I think it's been really positive, to be honest.
And Ramsay, we mentioned there, Callum talks about Jordan White getting in amongst the goals. You're going to have players like Jordan White, Eamon Brophy needing to step up now that Simon Murray's gone, Victor Latourie as well. Do you think you've got enough in the squad, or do you think you still need to add quite a lot?
I think we do need more. I think the squad, even though the starting 11 is, I'd say, quite good, but if you look at the bench, it's a few young boys who, don't get me wrong, they're very, very good players. Andrew McLeod coming off a great season on there, and Jamie Williamson, he actually made his debut, I think, at 16, coming off the bench in that play final, which is no mean feat to come into a game like that. Some very, very good players, but I think we do need a little bit more experience.
Yeah, I heard Sportssound commentators speaking of Andrew McLeod at the weekend. It's one of those that, do you put too much pressure on him? Do you need to kind of balance that out? The one thing I'm very intrigued by, Callum, is how do you think Don Cowie's going to do? Because it's his first full season in management. And County actually have stood by managers, with the exception of Derek Adams, but Malcolm Mackay got a long time there. Mm-hmm. How do you think Don Cowie is going to do? Do you think he's got all the tools around him to be a success?
I think he has, and I think he's very diligent on it, and obviously off the back of the career he's had and the man he's worked under, I think he's accrued a lot of knowledge and a lot of do's and a lot of don'ts, and I think he's chosen his opportunity wisely. I think there's been other times in the past where he's potentially had offers to go elsewhere, and he's bided his time, and he's had a bit of conviction about when he thinks is the right time. I know he has a good relationship with the chairman, so I think he'll do really well. I think he's a great guy and he's a great professional. I think that goes a long way, so that you'll have a good rapport with the players and his backroom staff. Obviously, he's brought his brother in as well, who has a bit of pedigree down at United in the academy, who's done really well there, keeping their elite status for the past X amount of years. So that'll aid him as well. But I think he'll do well, and I think he'll recruit well. I think, like I say, he trusts the people around him, and I think he's done a lot of due diligence. And I think the people he's brought in so far will add to it, like players from down south. Akil Wright, he's a top player. He's got people like Ricky Lammy who have been around the league. So I think he's adding different components, knowing that they can play the style of football he wants to play, and I think he'll stick to that. He'll have belief in what he's doing, and so far he's looked quite good.
And Ramsay, Callum earlier was saying success for Ross County is staying in the league each year. You graded it a 4 or a 5 from last season. What constitutes success to you this season?
Just do the same thing, please. Just keep us in the league.
You don't want another playoff, though. Surely 3 in a row is get a bit fed up.
My heart cannot take it. No more playoffs, please. Just I will take 10. I will snap you. I don't care if it sounds negative or I believe in Don Cowie. I think he's one of the best things to happen to this club in a very, very long time. But just keep us in the league. I am aware I sound very desperate and very scared, because I am a little bit. But yeah, I think Don Cowie is probably one of the best things to happen to this club in a very long time. And I do believe in him a lot, but just keep us in the league. And then if we can build on that, fantastic.
You know, County have been through a lot of things over the years. When you have a young person like yourself saying, my heart can't take it, which is worried. So think about the older County fans. That is a worry. Callum, County started the league off, I think it's an away trip at Motherwell. Difficult start for them?
Yeah, I think it is a difficult start, to be honest.
The Stuart Kettlewell derby?
Yeah, the Kets derby. I think it will be a difficult game, although, look, they've done a lot of rebuilding. They've lost a few players. But so if you're at County, you want to start the season at home. You want to start the season in the Highland. You want someone to come up the road, which I think the last few times I was there, we did. We started at home.
Why is that? Psychologically, or what? Why is that?
I think so. I think it's good having that week leading into the game at the training ground, knowing that you're going to be at the stadium on the Saturday and the fans are going to be in, so you can kind of kick off the season hopefully with a win and with a bang, and then get on your travels. But look, that wasn't to be this year. But every game in this league is going to be tough. I think it's going to be very, very competitive this year. I think it could be a toss-up between a lot of teams to finish in that 6th or 5th spot. So yeah, hopefully, look, they can be consistent. Like, that's the big thing. If they're consistent, that'll make a difference, because that's probably what's let County down in the past few years is inconsistency. So if Don can get them playing the way he wants them to and pick up points, they'll do well. And I think if they start well at Motherwell, that will only buoy the confidence on it. So yeah, it'll be a big game. It'll be a tough game.
You've set the tone perfectly, because my next question is, I'm going to ask you twofold things. So we'll do it first. General prediction for where the season is going to go, and one specific thing you think will happen. So let's go Ramsay first. Where do you think you'll end up finishing the season? What's your general prediction?
I think, you know what, I've said that I'll start where I'm on for 10. But I think, you know what, I think we might pick up a bit of form, good bit of mid-season form. It's never easy. I think I'm going to say we'll finish 8th. We'll be in there. We're going to be in amongst it, but I think we'll come out on team with those teams who are fighting at the bottom. And do you want one thing that I think is going to happen, or?
Yeah, go for that.
Okay, I think that he is a very underrated player among County supporters. I don't know. We're going to move the goals of Simon Murray, and the man who's been brought in to replace him is Ronan Hale. I think, first of all, Hale's going to have a good impact. I think the man that's going to get us our goals, and the first and foremost, will be Mr. Jordan White.
Good. A nice wee smile from Callum there. Callum, where do you think County are going to finish up? Give us your prediction.
I honestly think they could do well this season. Look, the window's not closed, and I know there'll be stuff going in the background at every club, but I think they get a couple more in. And like I say, if they can consolidate that playing style and start picking up points, I think they can do really well. And I think Don can be the catalyst for that. So I think they could be like last season. They could be in that little group with, like, when it was like Motherwell and Hibs and Dundee. I think they could be, come the split, they could be right in the mix. So I'd like to think they're going to be mid-table. Whether they finish in that top half, I'm not sure. It's going to be really competitive, but I don't see why not.
Okay, and I'd like a prediction of something you think will happen.
I predict that there might be a couple of sniffs for Don from big clubs down the road come the end of the season.
I like that. Ramsay does not like that. And Ramsay Banks, I've very much enjoyed your honesty and everything here so far. So let's create a rivalry. If you're finishing 8th, 9th or 10th, who's getting relegated this season?
Oh, fantastic. Just because, Callum, you played for them, so I'm sorry. Dundee United fans don't like me. Dundee United fans went down. You're back down in the Championship. County have been in the league 10 out of the past 11. I think 11 of the last 12. You've been up and down. You're a yo-yo club. Get back.
The best thing was when you said Callum's played for them, I was like, okay, it could be one of 9 teams that are going to get relegated this season. Let's see who it is.
Sorry,
I've been relegated with them as well, mate, so that's great.
Well, that's time to wrap things up. A huge thank you to Callum Morris and Ramsay Banks for joining us, and thank you for listening. Don't forget, we've got preview episodes for each Premiership team, so make sure you're across everything you need to know as we head into the new season. Have a listen back over the ones that are already out. And to be alerted when new episodes are out, subscribe to the Scottish Football Podcast on BBC Sounds and have push notifications turned on in your phone settings. We're ramping up to the start of the season. I'm very excited. We've got some optimistic Ross County fans. Listen to the other ones. And the best thing is, save this. listen back to it in 12 months and see who was right and see who was wrong. Thanks for listening. Goodbye.
For everything you need to know about your team this season, download the BBC Sport app. All the latest news, goal updates, stats and scores, and insight and analysis. Just select your club to get the biggest stories and best content at your fingertips. What a result. Download the BBC Sport app for everything you need to know about your team this season.